Welcome back. So let's talk about leadership, especially among the young persons. They are the successor generation and of any kind of leadership, political, corporate, religious, traditional. They are the successor generation. So let's talk to someone who is very passionate about successor generation and how to build capacity for them. Aisha Agbajo-Ogunade is Executive Secretary of Lateef Jakonde Leadership Academy, right here in Lagos, Nigeria.
Good morning.
Good to see you again.
Likewise, I'm very happy to be here. No
How's
pressure at all. It's been good. It's been phenomenal. There are good news in Nigeria.
Yeah,
There's always good news, and I'm glad to always be part of that good news.
All right.
Yeah, so it's been good.
Fantastic. So, one of the things that crossed my mind when I knew you were coming is to ask you exactly how you are characterizing this season of leadership. I don't know what you want to look at, whether it's political or corporate. So let's just say positional political leadership. How you are characterizing it and how it's forming your thought in managing the expectations on one hand, the positioning on the other hand, the capacity on the third leg of successor generation that you lead in the academy.
That's a big question, and I think that's a very theoretical question. So if you give it to me as a research, I'll probably have to give you like a dissertation. I think that's actually a really good dissertation question. So it's not something that obviously I can, effectively answer completely and utterly, but it's to what we say to beneficiaries that come to us, like fellows, associates, young people, is that everything is a learning process. So even what is going on in Nigeria, the leadership, everything, it's a learning process. So essentially what you pick out, and I say to a lot of young people, particularly through our process of the academy, is that you will not know what sort of leader you are, but you would know what sort of leader you do not want to be. So essentially, there's the opportunity to pick out the leaders that you do not want to be. And then there's the opportunity to also see leaders that are doing it effectively and pick out the leaders you want to be. And so it's a pick and choose situation, like pick mix. Pick the candies you want and drop the candies you do not want. So that's really how essentially I would characterize it. It's literally evaluating this holistically, unbiased, looking at the pros and cons, because we're very big on opinionated media today, and as opposed to theory-backed media. So looking at the pros and cons and then picking it out and dropping it, what's effective, what's not effective. That's really how I'll characterize it. And then I'm someone that I'm currently still in the place of learning. So I'm looking at, when I get there eventually, this is what I will do, this is what I won't do, this is what I'll do. So that's really how I characterize, and this is what I advise a lot of young people to, that's how I advise a lot of young people to characterize it.
Instructive. You would know what leader you do not want to be, but you may not know the kind of leader that you are.
Because leadership is a journey. You find unfolding. It unfolds as the journey becomes bigger. Because you will get to a point whereby, like Donald Trump, you're trying to pick, should I bomb Iran today or not? It unfolds. New character unfolds. It's like the onion, the layers, they continue to unfold. So you then pick. But however, if your foundation and your ethics and your integrity are strong, those will carry you through the unfolding of the onions.
Okay, so now speaking of the structure or the template that supports the kind of leadership or the kind of leaders that young people should be, if we looked at what currently obtains, some would diagnose us and say that the reason we're having a challenge with our democracy is because we're not democratic in nature. We're monarchical in nature. If you look at our history, our tradition, where we have obas and kabiesis who cannot be challenged like that. So are you seeing that, do you support that diagnosis, that is the reason our democratic template is certainly not working, and we may have to reconsider our approach to democracy, even if we must continue?
No, absolutely not. Whether monarchy sort of government, which the UK has, and it works. So it's not about which you don't have. I'm very big on democracy. You know, as someone that studied it for a long time. I think what we've done is we've picked and we've not tailored to our needs. So we've obviously followed the a lot of the US Constitution, and what we've done is we've adopted it and we've not tailored it to what we require. And it's about the key to leadership, to policies, is about implementation, intentionality, and tailoring it to people's needs. Because Singapore, for instance, has adopted a lot of the policies all over the world, but what they've significantly done is adopt it, is adapt it, right? Adopt and adapt. And I think essentially that's what we've not done. You know, some people can even argue that the 4-year tenure is not enough. You know, unlike the UK, it's a democracy, it operates the 5-year tenure, right? You can even argue that. That's, again, up for debate. But I think we've just not been able to adapt, tailor, implement it to suit our own environment. It's not everything that works in the West that we necessarily need to just pick up and think, oh, it's going to work in, you know, in Nigeria. You have to look at the cultural aspects of things. You have to look at the people's reaction to things, and it's really adopting it. We also have over 200 million people, so it's really changing it to work for a certain scope. So I don't fault a lot of these political structures or theories, but what I do is I look at, is it functional for our society? And that's the questions we need to ask. And also, I don't imagine if someone thinks of something functional and they bring it to Nigeria, Nigerians will really easily accept as well. There's also that, you know, I always say Nigerians are a reflection of their leaders, right? So really, it's really adopting it, you know, implementing, transiting it, getting a focal point for it. And I don't think we do very well with our policies in that sense. We are not. I learned something recently. We recently went to Singapore with a lot of our fellows, and it's the difference is there's futures thinking with every policy. So when we create policies, when they create policies, they're thinking about what does the future look like? We don't want today. What does the future look like? And I think when we do our policies, we need to look at what does the future look like. It seems like something small to think about, but it's actually huge. And it's the intention. It focuses on the intention behind a lot of the policies we make. And we can't make policies because we need to shape Nigeria now. No. What does that look like in the future?
So, yeah, great point you've raised. Let's come to your academy, because what you've raised now has become a source of controversy between the government and those who are opposed to the government. The concept of immediate, drastic policy reform against gradualism. So the shocks that we feel with the twin policy of the government is simply saying, it's going to hit you hard. You're going to dip. Some may not survive that dip, but we're eventually going to come out on the other side better. That's the argument on one leg as far as that issue or reform is concerned. So you just try and follow up and stay alive till we get to destination point. Then gradualism say, no, let's do it a one water approach because we're not really ready with all our fundamentals in terms of legacy issues. So that's a big argument. So where I'm going to with my question is about critical and analytical thinking. How are you helping your fellows to be critical and analytical? Because that seems to be far from some of our leaders with the results we're seeing. And you're raising leaders in your academy. So now it's time to talk about it.
I don't think it's far from our leaders, actually.
I say some of our leaders.
Yeah, maybe some. But I also think that you also have to ask, is it far from Nigerians? Because also, what do Nigerians want? And I think we have to reorient our society to get it to think, understand policies and understand the analysis behind certain things. Again, you know, I said that a lot of the journey for our fellows is they won't know what sort of leader they want to be, but they know what sort of leader they don't want to be. And it's for them to really dissect a lot of that information and come to their own conclusion, with us just simply giving them the armor of integrity, moral ethics, being an ethical leader, being a person of, of substance, and but however, we are teaching them to get, because leadership takes you buying on the vision of others. You need people to buy into your vision. That's how you become an effective leader. And we've taught them the importance of getting people to buy into your vision. It's not authoritarianism, it's not dictatorship, but you can work together as a team. And I think even with the leaders today, we need to start seeing Nigeria as a teamwork. Right, because effectively would then be able to dispense a lot of the policies more effectively to get Nigerians to, easily accept it and embrace it. And I think that's what we teach, at the academy. We look at leaders that have done it before, and I mentioned Singapore, and then you have Lee Kuan Yew's, and you learn about, the pros and cons to his government. How I remember when I went to Singapore years ago, and I remember I met some elderly people, and they're like, they don't like Lee Kuan Yew because Lee Kuan Yew has brought in a lot of the young people and he's quickly retired the older people. So there's always going to be the pros and the cons, but it's ultimately getting people to understand that thing that you are doing. And I think that's what we do at the fellowship. So we take them through leadership seminars, we get them to case study a lot of the leaders, and and just really literally learn through what has been done before and develop them.
That's very important, especially as it impacts on governance. But we know that the Lagos State government is investing in equipping young persons with leadership skills at your academy. Well, I'd like you to talk about that, but beyond that, how important is it also for civil servants to be enlisted in your leadership courses? Because they are the engine room of, governance at the state level. They're the implementers of state government policies that you're talking about. How important is it for state governments to reconsider a course, a crash course, or drills that will change their mindset and their attitudes towards governance?
If we're going to do 1 minute.
Thank you for that. That's actually a discussion we always have, because civil servants are the engine rooms. We always have conversations about, is it good leaders or strong leaders or strong institutions? But the civil servants are at the core of these institutions. And for us at LJLA, by the way, we recently got our bill signed into law, which is fantastic. So which sustains us. We also ensure that we enlist civil servants, to take them through young ones, because they will be the ones to, level up in the system and accelerate in the system. So we actually bring in civil servants as part of our academy's core of the 1-year fellowship, and to join us. So we have a certain percentage that join us every year, because we also know that it's a drop in the mighty ocean, but it's also that drop that makes the mighty ocean. And I know that Lagos State recently started the public sector accelerator program for civil servants. I think we don't currently have enough on that, but I think that a lot of people are starting to focus on the importance of enabling civil servants, because civil service is no longer the dumping ground. It's no longer the space whereby you just see people and you leave them there. Oh, you're looking for a job, quickly enter. It needs to stop, because they are actually the ones in charge of the system. They are the gatekeepers. They are the ones that are the front runners at the back end. And it should no longer be a child's play. It should be a place whereby we build cores, we build systems, we build strong systems, we build integrity. I think there's a lot of work going into that right now, personally, and we're adding our own bits to it. But essentially, I think there needs to be an overhaul.
All right. Absolutely. So we're going to hold you to that. You're now given the responsibility for that, to build successor generation. I was very deliberate. So if they are failing, we'll come to you. That you didn't teach them well, especially your failures. Aisha, Agbajo Kwade is Executive Secretary Lateef Jakonde Leadership Academy. Great work you're doing. We'll continue to check in on you and what you're doing because we need capacity building in our leadership. Thank you for coming on the program. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, just before we leave the studio, let's bring you up to speed with what you are saying on the program. No, not on the program. What you've been saying, we'll call it the front pages of the social media. Let's get to the handover by the ECOWAS chair, President Bola Tinubu, to Sierra Leone's bill taking over in Lagos. Abdurrashid Rashid said, I'd wanted him to initiate the revitalization of ECOMOG before he hands over. We need to jointly step up regional security to collectively eliminate terrorism. Bukola, you have the next one.
You have the next one, Jeffrey.
Okay. Ken Pachi Zakari says, the president of Nigeria has washed his hands and the hands of Nigerians from regional conflict. Interesting. That's quite amusing. I never saw that coming. We also have Emmanuel Tom, who said, what has been achieved during his tenure as chairman of the regional body, because there were many breakup from other neighboring countries. So yes, President Tinubu is being said to have been in leadership of ECOWAS when all the guys in the Sahel decided,
left, right?
when the Sahel guys said, we ain't doing it again, let's use a Nigerian term. So what is the legacy of President Bola Tinubu as far as the leadership of ECOWAS is concerned? The verdict is in your hands. Bukola, do you have any other one?
That must be the last, I believe.
Yes. Okay, I think we have just one more where a retired Nigerian police officer cries out and rejects ₂ million naira pension after 35 years of service. So I don't know whether we have time for that. So we have a video of a retired police officer who was served in the police force, according to him, for 35 years. During retirement, he got some money that he feels that is not commensurate with the number of years he's put in. And this is why we are saying, besides screaming at our security agencies, oh, they are not doing enough, oh, they should have been proactive, we need to also advance and advocate for better welfare. I don't think any policeman, no matter the least policeman, the least soldier, in my view, and the view of many Nigerians I want to believe, should not earn anything less than 250 to 300,000 because you're giving him gun. I don't know.
Putting his life on the line as well.
Justice for our security forces and our security apparatus. Justice for them. That's it on the program. I'm Jeffrey Uzama. Bye-bye.
Sunrise Daily is up next, so stay with Channels Television. We got you covered all day through the week. I am Bukola Koka. Bye for now.